Hello again. Thank you very much for joining. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jana. I'm the product marketing specialist here at Innovatrix, and I will be your host for today. Today's webinar will be dedicated to the latest innovation in our liveness detection technology portfolio, MagnifEye Liveness. And this time we will focus on the technical information such as integration and so on. Before we truly jump into it, I have some practical information for you. The webinar will be divided into two parts. The presentation with the live demo will take approximately 15 to 20 minutes, and it will be followed by the Q&A session. Don't worry or don't hesitate to ask your questions if you have any time during the presentation. To do so, please use the Q&A box you can see in the control panel on your screens as it is shown or highlighted in the picture you can see in the presentation. And also, you don't have to worry about missing any important detail because this session is being recorded and we will be sharing the recording with you after the session is over. And last but not least, I am happy to introduce today's presenters. Sitting next to me is Victor Bielko, the product manager of Identity Verification Solutions here at Innovatrix, and next to him is Peter Molchany, the integration consultant. And that's all from me for now. Guys, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Janka. So in today's webinar, we'll be presenting the MagnifEye Liveness detection. We'll present you the new proprietary file format, which we developed for communication between the client and the server. Then we'll go on with the presentation of the client components, first the web, then the mobile. After that, we'll show the backend API to process the collected data in digital identity service. We'll give you also some threshold recommendations for this algorithm, and then will be the QA. So we presented the MagnifEye Liveness detection in our webinar 2 weeks ago, but for those of you which haven't attended, the MagnifEye Liveness detection method was developed with the high security use cases in mind. This detection method is combining multiple frames of the face together with some additional data in order to allow to provide the highest accuracy of between false accept and false rejects. If we would compare the different liveness methods between them, we can see that MagnifEye is ranking high above with the false accept to false reject accuracy, allowing it to be used for high security requirement use cases. Of course, there is some user convenience trade-off, so it makes pretty useful to combine different liveness detection methods in the projects where you need operations with lower security requirement, with a higher frequency of usage, and verifications where the security required is really high. As we are offering this kind of scenario, we would like to ask you in a poll if you have a project that would require transactions of different security level. So please start voting now.
Yeah, you can see the questions on your screens, I hope at least. So please vote. Pick your answer. I can see the answers are going in. All right. No other voice seems to be going in, so I'm ending the poll now and sharing the results. As you can see, almost 70% of the attendees voted for yes. There are some operations requiring higher levels of security.
Okay, so let's continue. Now to introduce the proprietary file format. Up till now, with our components, you've been transferring a JPEG file from the client to the server. But as mentioned, this MagnifEye Liveness detection is using multiple images and also some additional data. So in order to make it easier to transfer all this data from client to server and not to mix them up or to lose anything, we have created one binary data format to cover all this data. What's another benefit of this is that the data inside are signed, meaning it prevents also the man-in-the-middle attack where somebody could intercept the communication between client and server and switch the data. So it's additional, it's adding some additional security on top. But on the client side, the components are still returning one JPEG file in order that you can use it in the UI, in the avatar, or so on, or similar. And you don't have to wait for some processing on the server to get one image from the binary data. So this option still stays there. And now I would like to hand over to Peter, who will present you the MagnifEye web component.
Okay, so let's see it in action. I will demonstrate here the samples you can download from GitHub. So you can after the session, you can navigate there and try it yourself. So I have opened here the console, and I'll open the web browser here with the MagnifEye Liveness, so we can see it in action. So here is the video feed. I place my face in the circle, I move closer, and we have capture. Okay, as Victor said, there is also one image available on the client side to display, and now we can see the code itself, how you can integrate this component into your project. So here is the code from GitHub. We provide samples for different technologies. Here I'm going to show you the React one. Here you can see there are a few files that start with MagnifEye Liveness. So here we have the MagnifEye UI, the camera, and this MagnifEye Liveness. So let's start with the UI. This is fairly simple. Here we just need to provide this tag and with proper configuration. Then for the camera, we have to again place the tag and initialize the component itself, again with the proper configuration. And that's basically it. Here we can find these two components. Here we have the onComplete callback and onError. So let's see the onComplete callback, what happens when this is triggered. Here with the onComplete, over here, for the step MagnifEye Liveness, it calls handle MagnifEye complete. Let's see what's there. Here we have the image data and the properties. You can use this image data to show the image itself, the simple image, as Victor said, as avatar, for example. But the important part is this content. As described here, you can use this content to send over to Digital Identity Service, and Digital Identity Service will use it for evaluation of MagnifEye Liveness. So this is simply one blob that contains all the data, and you just need to transfer it to your server and pass it to Digital Identity Service. And there you will get the needed score. So you can see the integration is fairly easy. If you already have implemented the standard phase auto capture, this should be very easy switch. Maybe what's different is what you are transferring to the server. Okay, so this is for the first part that we have seen. Now we can continue with Android and iOS. Here I will be demonstrating Android, but on iOS it's the same APIs. So here I'm showing you the samples from GitHub, but this sample is for Android. Here you can see all other use cases that we demonstrate in the sample, but for this session we'll focus on the MagnifEye Liveness. So I will start this component. Again, here I have the circle. I move my face closer, and it's done. Here you can see the instructions. The principle is the same. We take this result of MagnifEye Liveness and we send it to the digital identity service. Now let's see some code. I will show you the code in Android Studio. So maybe you are familiar with the face auto capture. So we provide this fragment, and with the MagnifEye, it's the same, but you just need to extend the MagnifEye Liveness fragment. Here it's called basic MagnifEye Liveness fragment. It's very easy to set up. The important part is this onFinish callback. So this is the result of the MagnifEye Liveness. So let's see it in detail. What do we have here? Here for the MagnifEye Liveness result, we can use the images themselves to create the thumbnail, but we can also send it to digital identity service for evaluation in a very similar fashion to the web. Okay, so that's it. As you can see, it's very easy to do. Maybe a thing to point out, you cannot evaluate liveness, this kind of liveness on device. You have to transfer this data to the server and evaluate with the digital identity service. Okay. Okay, and now I would like to show you how you can evaluate this data once transferred to digital identity service, how you can evaluate it. For this, I will use Postman tool. So here I will demonstrate it via this API of digital identity service. So first, I will use the standard flow. I will create customer entity. Here it's created. Then I will create liveness. And now, if you are familiar with passive liveness, you would send passive liveness selfie. But instead of doing that, we have new endpoint. And here is the liveness record. And here is the MagnifEye content. It is octet stream. Maybe that's different to the other ones that you already used. There's no JSON. So let's see this one. Okay. So this is the MagnifEye content from the web that I showed you earlier. So what you can see is the face detection. So basically the face image was extracted. And we can work with this once this was uploaded. So we can evaluate this message. So let's see the body. When we look at the body, here we have to specify type MagnifEye Liveness. You could specify passive liveness if you use passive, but now we are using MagnifEye. So let's try this. Okay, and we got the score. This is a MagnifEye score. We provide tables how to interpret the score. You can find this in our documentation. So you can see it's fairly easy to do with digital identity service. You just need to follow the sequence. We can also have a look here. What's the old sequence? If you use passive liveness, you would create customer entity, send selfie, reference it to liveness, and then use one more liveness selfie and call evaluate liveness, and then you would get the score. Here, when you work with the MagnifEye, you create customer entity, then you create liveness, you place the record, and then you create liveness, of course, and then you evaluate it, and then you get the MagnifEye liveness score. So it is a little bit different, but still pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Now for some threshold recommendation. As Peter shown, the MagnifEye Liveness detection returns a score, and you need a threshold how to evaluate the attempt, whether it was a spoof or a fraud. The score that you got was 0.90.
95 or
95 or something like that. In order to suggest the best threshold, we have created an extra data set, which we call it a very difficult data set, where all the spoofs that we have put there are spoofs of high quality, and all the genuines are photos taken in bad light conditions. So you have a combination which is not a real world sample, but this is a combination which is mostly challenging the algorithm. And still we have very good separation of these two sets. And as you can see, we would recommend here the score of 0.88, because then you can be sure that almost no false accept will be appearing, and the reject ratio would be very low, and if used in normal lighting conditions, there will be also almost no reject ratio. So here we are showing that this detection method is really designed for the high security use cases with the highest false accept to false reject accuracy. Okay. Now, that was for the integration of the MagnifEye Liveness detection. I hope you will have an easy time integrating this thanks to our webinar. In case you would need some more information, please go to our public documentation. Here on this link, we have a main page about active liveness, and there is a MagnifEye Liveness in it. Could you please open it? And from this page, you can get, please scroll a little lower, back, a little back. Okay, just below this image. Here below the animated GIF with the MagnifEye Liveness, you have links to all the component documentation that we've been discussing, so you can find all the data there. Of course, there are GitHub samples for both the web, for the mobile client, and also there is a Java sample for the backend, how to use it. So that was for today's webinar. Now let's go to the QA session. I would like to ask Janka to take over the presentation and show us the questions that were coming.
Yeah, just give me a second. I see some of them are already there. So let me share the screen so that you all can see them. Yes, I want to continue, and I want to share this screen. Share. So I hope you see the questions on your screens too now. So we have the question from Jan. Are there any issues with glasses and reflections on them?
I would say there should be no issues with glasses if these are transparent glasses. Of course, if somebody would be having black glasses or reflective glasses against the sun, this would of course impact the liveness detection, and the user would have to remove such glasses.
Mm-hmm. And another question from Jan, also do contact lenses impact the evaluation?
They shouldn't impact it at all.
Okay, all right. And the next question, for web, do you support Blazor framework, and for mobile, do you support, .NET, I'm sorry, let me see the whole question. .NET MAUI, both from Microsoft?
We don't have samples for those technologies. So maybe you could have a look at the samples that we have and try to integrate it with these. I suppose there shouldn't be a problem, but if you encounter, of course, you can reach to us and we can have a look at it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it looks like we ran out of the questions. I don't see any others there. If you have any, please type them to the Q&A box. You can see, yeah, there's another one. How does desktop work, from Steve Cook? I'm afraid.
Oh, well, as you have seen, Peter demonstrated the capture component on a notebook. Of course, if a desktop is having some external web camera, this can be used with the liveness detection capture component as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I think that's it. I don't see any others there. If that's not the case, yeah, I think that's it. So I think we can conclude this session for today. Oh no, there's another one. Does the quality of the camera has any effect?
Well, yes, but as I mentioned, well, the quality of the camera doesn't have that much effect as the light conditions where the picture is taken. So anybody using it in a dark room would get probably worse score for genuine, and of course, you know, lower quality camera makes lower quality photos in dark rooms, so this will affect the score as well. But if used in normal conditions like we have here in our meeting room, there is no difference whether you use expensive or cheap camera.
Mm-hmm. And there's another question. Is the format of the transfer data documented, e.g. for later regulatory review?
Maybe I can answer this question. The format itself is not documented, but what we have is we have API on digital identity service side that you can use to get actually the data from the binary format. So you can get the image. So you can review what data was actually evaluated. This is possible to get, as I said, as API call on digital identity service side. It's a GET request for the liveness records, and this way you can get the original image. Of course, we do not disclose the specifics of the format, but in this way you can meet the regulatory needs.
Yeah, And of course, as I said, there are also some additional data transferred, like the signature and so on. So we will not disclose how is this done, because this would infringe the security of the data transfer.
Yeah, sure. And another question, is there any possibility for this feature to be offline supported without going into identity server?
Okay, I can answer this one. Currently, the neural network model that evaluates these data is pretty huge, so it's not suitable and optimized for mobile apps, and we recommend it to use it on the server. Of course, if you would be having some use case like kiosk machines or some security gates or something like this, in that case, we can discuss, in case of an interesting business, to provide the liveness detection evaluation also on the client side, but it would be, I would say, OEM usage, but we will not provide this functionality for usage on a cell phone.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And now it seems again that we ran out of all the questions. If none are asked, I will thank you very much again for joining. I hope you enjoyed the session and learned some new interesting things. If anything, you can still contact us after the webinar at sales@innovatrix.com. And as promised, we will be sharing the recording of this session with you via email shortly after the session is over. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, thank you very much again. Have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.